Hello, everyone. It's me, Love Always, and I'm a love addict. And today I have my guest host today, which is the president and CEO of Venerable Inc. And he's going to be guest hosting because today I am the special guest. But in case you didn't get to catch him being the guest last week on our topic of mixed signals, the tall line, you can catch it here on this channel at facebook.com love always dot forgiving. It's on here. So I'm going to turn it over to my guest, Lenny Augustine.
Hey, hello, friends. I'm glad that you can be here with us today. It's a beautiful day today, but what makes it even more beautiful is the fact that you took time to sit with us today and be a part of our show. Love always, I'm going to ask you to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Love Always, do life coaching, and all of my things are centered around, healing heartbreak from being a love addict. And we're all a love addict in some type of way. There's different types of love addicts that we have. So and then of course I have this live broadcast to help all different forms of whatever type of love, heartbreak that you have. So if you have any of those type of things, or whether we haven't touched your type of heartbreak or your type of love addiction, then you can always write and we'll find a guest who's going through that to be able to help you.
That's great. That's great. I definitely want to applaud you for all the work that you do, for your commitment to sharing not only your work but your passion, and your ability to advocate for those who have went through some of the same situations and circumstances that you yourself have went through. And guess what? I'm a love addict myself. You know what I mean? I know being a love addict is a good thing. So I hope fellow love addicts continue to tune in with us every week to get some great and to be a part of our conversation, because I think that's very, very important. So did you tell them about today's topic?
Yes. Actually, no, I didn't. Today's topic is about finding truth. So the whole thing is that we have all these false beliefs and our opinions and our feelings. We do a lot of different things out of those things, but we never really know what truth is. So that's what our topic is today, about finding truth.
Okay. So how do you know what it's like to struggle without knowing the truth? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Like growing up for me, I grew up in, I have a Christian background and things. I'm what else I would be considered agnostic now, but
Okay.
it's not agnostic. It's the other way, because I believe in God. I believe there's one God. So
Okay.
I don't belong to a particular religion, but I grew up with Christianity, and for me, in my background of Christianity, I was like terrified and afraid, of the heaven and hell and the burning, the fire, brimstone. So it's like I got to the point to where I was like, well, I'm guaranteed I'm going to hell anyhow because
What?
I'm so terrified of hell that I'm so focused on it that, like all the different things when I would ask questions to try to allay those fears or try to be perfect, and perfection, trying to be perfect isn't always good.
Right.
Is to work on bettering yourself, but trying to be perfect and flawless, which you can't be, is not good. So, but because I was so focused on the hell aspect and the fear of hell aspect, that I couldn't even live or function. So, I had to learn how to find out what was the truth in my belief, as
Okay.
opposed to, you know, like I was believing in a God, or the what do you say, the what somebody else pictured for me, rather than I believed it for myself.
Right. And I think that's a very, very important statement, because too often what happens is as we grow, we inherit, the religion of our parents, the principles of our parents, or not only the principles, but the lack of, or you know, of our parents, or the people that help us, that help raise us up, so to speak. And at many times we find out that you don't transition, that most adults don't transition from that, from their cultural inheritance to and adapt a personal relationship with what they truly believe and what they truly value, and as the subject is today, what is their truth.
Right.
So I think that's very, very important. So your journey towards your wrestling, how did you wrestle with, you know, your truth versus the truth that you inherited or that people was pushing on you?
You know, like I had this experience of I would get frustrated. It's like, why are people, you know, if they're having something or an event or whether they needed volunteers or something, I'm just like so happy. I'm going to jump in there and volunteer. Not that I'm really expecting anything back,
Right.
but it was nice to know that somebody appreciate what you do for them. And but these people weren't appreciating, you know, in return. It was like, oh, she did this, you know, like, well, they didn't really even acknowledge me or whatever. But if I was having something, there was never that, okay, well, she's come to every single thing. She's even come out of her pocket for my dream and invested in my dream. But here I can't even just show up or either just say congratulations. And it's like, okay, what am I doing? I came to the realization that, okay, well, what if I stop doing this for these people and just invest in myself? Because I'm investing in everybody else, but I don't have anything to invest in myself because I had this inferiority complex that I felt like I couldn't do it by myself, that I needed other people. In which, yeah, it's good to have other people, but if other people are not invested in your dream or don't have the same vision in you, then you're just kind of like pretty much defeating the purpose of living your dream, because you know you can't force somebody to be part of your dream if it's not the same passion that they share, or if they don't want to support you, you know. So I say,
Right,
well,
right.
why am I supporting people who are not supporting me? I need to start supporting people who support me. And the moment I see that you are not a people person, that you're just about yourself and you're selfish, then why I don't want to be on your team. So I
Okay.
had to take in realization those things.
So you would say in under that circumstance then, that one of the truths that you realize is that you have to value yourself and value what's important to you, and by doing so then incorporate other people, but not the other way, where other people believe something is important for you or to you, and then bring you in, and all of a sudden you're a part of this hive mentality where then you find yourself as a disadvantage. Is that correct, or can you shorten that? Because I want everybody to understand this journey of discovering the truth, and to do that as a part of each and every aspect of their life experience.
You know, because like I still see it now in other people. They'll say,
Okay.
oh, they'll be crying and say, this person doesn't do this for me, this person doesn't love me, this person doesn't, when I have this, you know. And and yeah, you can cry about that and say, okay, I'm disappointed that they don't, because I've
Right.
given. But you can't, if you choose to stay there, then you're getting into the mentality of I'm making somebody or trying to change somebody, and it's not your right to change anybody. You're accountable for yourself. So at that point, you're kind of being accountable for somebody else and trying to make somebody else accountable or obligated to you. And that's not something what I want to do. I want people to be true. I want to be people to be real, because I don't want you to be smiling in my face and, you know, and feeling some other type of way about me. So
Yeah.
if we don't be real and be honest with each other and stuff like that, I'm not going to make you do something. But at the same token, like you said, I value myself enough to know that you do not appreciate what I do, or you are just not on, we're not on the same wavelength. And then it's cool. You go your way, I go mine. And
Okay.
I had to accept that and not take offense to other people, you know.
So, and I like how you capture that. And uh, Shakia, I believe, said amen to that. Yeah. So I think it's very, very important to along your journey begin to say, okay, this is my truth. This is what I believe in. and maybe that belief doesn't match up with what I inherited or what other people believe, but these are my beliefs, and then those beliefs becomes your principles.
Yeah.
That people that your principles then become that line that you won't let other people cross.
So shut your mouth and keep on talking.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So do you have any books out or services that you provide that kind of talk about some of the things that you just shared with us?
Yes, like I said, I'm an author. So I have 4 books out. One is it's called the Whole Me series, where the
Okay,
W is fake because there was a hole in me. So the first book is called Web of Lies, with the
okay,
F is stated on there, and that's pretty much my me having to go with my present way of thinking, all the hurt, addressing all the hurt, and then going back into my past of where that hurt came from. When the first time I what imprinted those that paradigm or my way of thinking or my
okay,
perception. And then my second book is actually called The Whole Me. And The Whole Me is me going through my journey. To me about my me actually, because I had anger and I hate towards God growing up, but I
okay,
had to come back around and find out who God is for myself. So that's what Imperfect Me is about. And Love Addict is my
my
last book.
favorite.
Yeah. And that's just a collection of everything, like from when I was a child, when I started writing and my journaling and stuff, of what my thought process was and how my thought process changed throughout my life.
Okay. Hey, I appreciate you sharing that with us. Because I think everybody know, and we talk a lot. You and I speak often about the value of being able to journal your story, so that you can be better able to share that story with others. So you can be a mentor, you can be a coach, you can be an advocate, and be able to then leave a legacy for all those that you touch and that you serve. So, um, yeah, I appreciate you for sharing that with us. Uh, so, tell us a little bit about then how, because we're talking about finding your own truth here. And actually, this is actually a difficult subject for a lot of folks, because you don't know what the truth is until you sometimes run into something that is good, good situation. And then through that situation, you say, you know what? I learned from that. And from here on out, this is what I'll do. Have you, outside of what you just told us, can you pinpoint something in your life where you can say, you know what, I learned from that, and from here on out, this is exactly how I'm gonna do. Can you do that?
Okay. Well, I don't think I can say it less than your commercial time, but I'll
Okay,
let you
okay.
take a quick break and then I'll answer that.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to share with others that with our viewers here some of the beautiful things that we've been doing lately, and as a part of our little commercial break that we take, I want to share a joke with you. So here we go. Um, how would you describe me? This is what a wife says. This is a husband and wife having a conversation. How would you describe me? And the husband says A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. What? What does that mean? The wife said, right? Like, what? And you know how we say in the hood, like, what? Right? So the husband said, well, adorable, beautiful, cute, delightful, elegant, fashionable, gorgeous, and hot. And the wife said, aw, you know what? Thank you. But what about the IJK? And the husband said, I'm just kidding. So I hope y'all got that right there. I wanted to share something with you, kind of to lighten up this, because sometimes we have very, very serious conversation, and we need to lighten it up just a little bit to kind of let you know that though life can be serious and dramatic at times, finding a little humor along the way, or sometimes a whole bunch of humor, will make that part of your journey a lot lighter. Love, always talk to us a little bit about then. Uh, how would you want someone then, if someone came to you and said, well, you know what, I'm having a difficult time, finding my truth about what it is to be a mother, how would you ask that person what journey would you take that person on to discover some of the key things that would lead them to say, you know what, I value that and I'm going to take that and practice that as a part of my journey?
Well, what I did for myself is, for my journey, I said, first I start with, like I know people always say we always know what we don't want. So then I started with what I don't want, which
Okay.
is everything that I remember that was hurtful, those hurts that I carried over into adulthood, those things that really made imprints. Those
Before you continue, give us maybe 3 examples of those things that you just described, the hurtful things that you say from here on out, never again. This, somebody display this, it's a wrap.
Okay, for me, it was I had this thing of where, like, whether I go through emotional time, or sometimes as women we go through times where we're bloated. So people, even at the family reunions or get-togethers, oh, you look like you getting fat. You need to lose weight. You don't want to get that way. Like they're pointing out this thing, and
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes like subconscious, and so then you're like tugging at your clothes, or you're trying to suck your stomach.
Yeah. Be like,
Yeah. So, it's like they're pointing out these flaws, or, oh, look at your face. What is all, because I had acne, like bad acne. So it's like, oh my God, it's your face and this. So then I go to picking at my face and stuff. So when it came to my kids, I said, I'm not going to do that. Or if I feel like they're gaining weight, number one, I know first I need to look at emotional, because sometimes we gain weight from emotional. It's not, and you don't even have to be eating, because I would not eat, but I would still gain weight, and the
okay,
emotions would take on and make me kind of bloated or whatever. So
okay,
it's like, let's sit down and talk. Or the fact that another thing is, like, if I talk to my mom or whatever, my mom would kind of get defensive about different things. Oh,
okay,
oh, so you don't appreciate this. Oh, so you got, like they get defensive, and it's like, this is my feelings. I'm trying to share my truth, so it makes you suppress your truth and you're afraid. So when it came to me talking to my children, it would be, I might would start to tend to go over to that defensive part, because it's like, man, I feel like I'm doing everything as a parent to try and show you different. So then I say, look, who else aside from me do you trust to
okay,
talk to? So if it's a person that that I feel like, okay, this person is a person that is a good enough person for them to talk to and things, I was like, then I'll call that person up. It was always normally my brother. And it's like, hey, your niece, your nephew, whatever, needs somebody to talk to or vent to, because they're not going to take it as the same way as I am as a parent, because I'm part of the problem,
right,
And,
right, right,
and so when I want to relay something, I'm like, it comes off defensive, whereas I'm trying to explain myself, and I don't want them to feel like I'm being defensive. So those are like 2 things. And then another thing is, I know that in my family, pedophile, that pedophile nature situations run in my family. So I
okay,
would think, what happened that it slipped through these adults, or what did they do that made me feel victimized or feel like I couldn't feel safe to talk to someone. So
okay,
then from there, I made a list of those things of what I'm going to do opposite, and make my children feel comfortable to say something to me, or make my children feel safe enough that if they can't come to me, that they can just go to their school and say it. I'm not going to make my kids feel like
now,
they
whenever
can't.
you see this fist, that's me grabbing onto something that you just said. So I'm gonna grab onto something that you just said because I think it's very key. And what you said was, what you were gonna do, you're gonna do something that was opposite of what it was that created that negative circumstance or situation in your life and life experience. And I believe the decision to do the opposite if I ask you to describe what are those maybe three things that you did that are opposite, then I believe that's the point where you say these became my truth. So
Okay.
can you give me some examples of that? And my guest, I want all the guests to just pitch in here because I'm sure you have went through some of the same things that Ilona described, or you know someone who have went through that. And as a result of that, you've discovered some key things that you've said, this is going to be my truth. I'm going to live like this and not like that. Because when you can get to the point where you can say, I'm going to live like this, this is going to be what what I'm going to make sure not happen to me, then that becomes, I believe, becomes true. So give us maybe three things. So you had, and it's gonna, I know it might be difficult. You had pedophiles in your family, and you actually now can recognize probably some of the behaviors of people that have that characteristics. Correct?
Right.
So
So,
if you saw, and I'm asking, so if because we're gonna start chopping this up just a little bit. So if you saw someone with some of those characteristics, what would be the thing? What would come to you, and what would you do? Because then you would be operating from your truth. What would you do?
if I saw like a
Someone
parent,
with the characteristics of a pedophile, as an example, what would you do?
well, I want to say you can't always really tell a person with characteristics of pedophiles because we could like assume. The
Okay.
best thing to do is you teach your children of the what I call signs as far as if a person I don't play the secret game. I didn't play the secret game with my kids of let's keep a secret. Let's tell the secret thing that they used to do with us because to me that's prepping a child to be vulnerable for a pedophile.
Right.
So, because one of the things that pedophiles do, they'll say is, "This is our secret. Don't tell your parents, or don't tell, or else I'm gonna kill you, or I'm gonna hurt you, or don't tell because you wanted this, and they're gonna think that you're bad." So that secret game is kind of like a prep for that, even though you don't think that you're prepping it, but
Right.
that's just something that was passed down through history to train the mind to think that it's okay or that you're a participant of it.
That's
So
right.
that's
Now, in one of our conversations, you had mentioned, and you definitely put our emphasis on it, on recognizing inappropriate touching, because I wanted to draw that from you, because I think you made a point in one of our conversations that if you at a younger age recognize what is inappropriate touching, and we're not going to stay, this is not about pedophile right now. We're working on identifying that emphasis that you call your truth, that you will not allow anyone to violate, and
well
that you
my
would defend.
my brother, he was always good about it is if he sees somebody pick up my kids, especially my daughter and things, a man, and sit them right in the middle of their lap. Why do you want a child sitting right in the middle of your lap? There's your thigh there or something. You don't want them on your private. And for me as a child, I would feel the hard on that they would get or whatever. But everybody just sitting around, and so they're secretly getting a hard on or whatever, sitting trying to pull me in their lap and stuff. But everybody else, all the adults sitting around laughing like it's okay and stuff, and that little tickle game and stuff like that is like don't play with me like that. Don't play and
Okay.
tickle with my kids and whatnot. So, um, you know, it would just be different things just because of how deep the pedophilia went and things that
Right.
I could recognize, what was really going on because I knew what was going on behind the scenes. In
Okay.
this,
So it seems like you're saying that once you have experienced something, it's easy to then recognize whether someone is doing something deliberately and intentionally versus someone that's just doing it innocently. But then I believe from your point of truth, if you recognize it, whether it's deliberately or intentionally, I believe that you're the type of person, because that comes to someone and say, hey, I do not want you to conduct that type of behavior in my environment, because I think you mentioned that earlier.
yeah,
And we're
and
getting some.
it's kind of like what Letitia just said about breaking the silence of breaking the curse. And that's been the thing of in our families or whatever, because a lot of times people will know or people will sense, because I've heard family members say that, oh yeah, we had a feeling that was going on, but we didn't want to say anything, or we didn't
Right.
want to accuse anything. But now, so my thing became was, I'm not mad at the pedophile. I'm actually mad at the people around who didn't say anything. Because my thing is, I know people don't like the whole thing about what is it? About reporting someone. But
Right.
the thing is, there's a due process and things. So if you report somebody, it's better to be safe than sorry. It's not like you're reporting that person out of maliciousness or animosity or something, because I really want that to get checked out. So if
Right.
this person goes through this due process, and you shouldn't have no problem or whatnot, because I've had DCF called on me before, and we DCF did their thing. They said, oh, we see nothing's wrong. You did the right thing. This, that, and the other. It's just the other person's perception. And they said, but you're handling this very well and very calm than most parents. Because, well, I'm going to be mad. I don't want nobody to be mad about being genuinely concerned, especially when I'm not guilty of anything.
That's correct. Yeah, and again, Letitia said it's very, very important to break the silence, because when you break the silence, you actually break that generational curse, as was mentioned earlier as well. So, what was your aha moment? Because I think your aha moments is actually also create the truth that you decide to live your life by. Isn't that so?
A lot of my aha moments came through my children, you know.
Okay.
So watching them and seeing how they were treated. So I told, like one example was love. My like certain family members was doing the same thing to my son. Oh, you're fat, and you look like Fat Albert, or you need to lose this weight, this, that, and the other. And so I had so one day I just stood right there in front of everybody. I said, so from my understanding, as as Christians that you claim to be, it says love is patient, love is
Right.
kind. Love does not laugh at somebody else's expense. Love does not puff up. It doesn't hurt other people when you know that you're hurting him, and he's telling you that hurts or that's bothering him. You can if you felt like he needed to lose weight and you big yourself, then why
Right.
not say, hey, why don't let's go to the gym together? I want to work out together. That's a better way to say it than to try to point out somebody's flaws. So
Right.
if you know what love is and you're not doing that and you're constantly hurting, you're doing the opposite of love. And then I turned to my son, I said, then they don't love you. I don't care how much they say they family, if they say they your grandma, your uncle, your brother, your sister, or your lover or whoever and stuff like that. If they're doing the opposite of what love is, then don't tell me that you love me and don't say that's love. And then if I turn around and be in a relationship that's abusive, then you're trying to tell me that, oh, that's bad that you're in an abusive relationship and nobody that hits you loves you and stuff like that. But when all the time I was growing up, you hit me and then say, I'm sorry, I love you, hit me, I'm sorry, I love you. Then that sounds like the same pattern. So then how
Yeah. Yeah. And I think but we're gonna take a quick break. Can you give us a fun fact real quick?
A fun fact. Did you know that Coca-Cola was green originally? Yeah, it was originally green.
Hey, another fun fact about Coca-Cola, I believe it was didn't they have Coke in it? I'm
You know,
just kidding.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So what was your most discouraging moment
My
in
most,
childhood?
I can say two most discouraging moments. One was in fact there's a video out on my thing that I'm sorry. There's a
That,
video
that's
out
okay.
on my Facebook that I did, I want to say about 3 years ago, where a lot of people had responded. It's on my little movie thing, and I was crying because I was left stranded at an airport. and from, a guy or whatever. And so my thing was that I'm tired of people telling me that the reason why I'm not married yet, or I'm not this, or I can't find a good man, or I'm attracting these bad, situations, is
Right.
because I'm not whole. And I'm like, shoot, it takes two halves to make a whole. So if you a whole person, then you don't need nobody, you know? So
Yeah.
but my thing is, I've seen a lot of these people, whether they're pastors or anything, and before they became Christians or before they got married and stuff like that, oh, they was messed up, or they had somebody who stuck it out to them. So why are you telling me that I don't deserve to be loved like that? I don't deserve a man who would love me with my ratchetness, or my
Wow.
stuff, or to help me get through. So how dare you tell me that you was good enough for it? Kind of
Right.
thing. Like these motivational speakers who out here tell you got to be this type of way. And I see crazy women got a good man, but that man love them until they get better. Say vice versa. I think so. It was like discouraging at that moment at first, because it was like you're telling me that I don't deserve to be loved. And then the other thing was um
And I'm going to ask you, how did you then overcome those discouragements to become the you that you are today? But I'm gonna let you. You got one more to give us about that discouraging
my
moment.
but my other one is like when I would cry telling my story, because sometimes I
Okay.
still do cry telling my story. Is for somebody to tell me that you're not healed or you haven't forgiven because you're crying. Well, first off, if my story doesn't touch you, or if I listen to somebody else's story and it doesn't touch me to cry and stuff like that, like everybody is not a crier,
Right.
because I could probably tell my story to you, and inside you probably crying with me.
Yeah, yeah, I'll be, yes, I go into the silent mode. I'll be like, man, this is like,
Yeah,
but for some reason or other, whenever I hear someone's difficult story, what I immediately sense is their courage. Because if you have the courage to stand before someone and say, this is what I went through, I think that makes you, in my book, you're courageous, because so often people stop in the muck and mire of their own circumstance and not go through it. So
yeah.
that's what I usually feel.
And sometimes for me, crying is like, oh my gosh, I really went through that, and I'm still here. You know how many people still are not here, or might
That's
have
right.
committed suicide, or they might have been in the one of my situations is my husband came to kill me, and I got away, and the police said they found the gun thrown into the bush or whatever, but I barely got away. So do you know how many people didn't get away?
That's
That
right.
their significant other killed them or whatever and stuff. So it's like, so when I cry, don't tell me I'm not healed or I'm not forgiving or whatever and stuff like. I done really moved on, but those tears is my passions to help somebody else. So it was like discouraging at first, and I would not tell my story. But now I tell my story through my tears, and if you don't like my tears, then you can go someplace else.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody won't like your tears because you're genuine. You know what I mean? And you're speaking from a place of experience. So Shakira Coswell mentioned that to recognize and acknowledge there is a problem is the first step of breaking the curse. And she says she's speaking from experience. But I know a lot of folks can relate. A lot of our listening audience and those who will come in contact with this video is gonna or with the show are gonna recognize that what we're talking about is relatable, and the theme today is to know your truth. Know your truth, and then know when someone is violating their truth, or when you yourself are violating or compromising your own truth for the sake of appeasing someone or some situation or circumstance. Um, so when did you start your organization, and how hard was it to put it together?
Um, well, I started my organ. Well, how hard? I just pretty much just
Yeah.
answered that, which is it was difficult because I was letting people or naysayers or people who was already arrived to where their so-called healing, that forgot where they came from if they really went through what I went through. And so
Okay.
so it became the thing of, wait a minute, I'm not trying to reach everybody that they're trying to reach. So if you
Right.
got your demographic, there's a demographic of me who feels like that these motivational speakers cannot reach me when they would say different things like, just get over it. Okay, well then you know what, I can't get over it. So I'm just out of that whole, I'm hopeless kind of thing. And there's people out here who still feel hopeless no matter what
It's
these
true.
motivational speakers are. So since I know that depth of hopeless, I was at the depth of where I was in and out of the hospital for suicide and depression, and the doctor was medicating me, and they said that the medication was not to help me get better or to get out of depression. It was just to help me to exist. So who
Okay.
wants to get existing with this suicidal thought of just walking around and just existing? I was good at smiling in people's face, but inside they didn't know that I was going back and making suicidal attempts, jumping out story windows and stuff like that, ODing and stuff like that. They didn't know that was going on in the background because I was this bubbly personality, but I was functioning, but I
Right.
was not. So I was at what they call the deepest level of depression. So my campaign just came about that way of, well, there's other people who need to be reached that are not being reached, or certain people can't reach them because they really don't know. They don't know me, kind of
Okay.
thing.
Now, is that one of the ways that you overcame those things? Because in my last question, I said to you, what was those difficult moments and what occurred, or what did you do that then allowed you to overcome those difficult moments to become the person that you are today?
Yeah,
Because it seems like you've had some real significant emotional experiences, but it's not, we all have. And we need people like yourself to be able to tell us, okay, when I went through this, this is what I did, and that's how I got through. I didn't get stuck. I got through what I was going through. So, what are some of those things?
that's like a webinar that I'm putting together on all of those, different things. And so, my one thing was the very thing that we're all afraid of, or most people are afraid of, is being alone. We don't
Okay.
want to be alone because we don't want to be left alone to our own thoughts, especially if you're a suicidal person. But for me, that was the best thing, was to actually go into the alone pace and ask a lot of questions. They say you don't question God, but I questioned the hell out of him,
Right.
and I got a lot of answers by being alone. I had to check my perception and whatnot. But I'm gonna let you do the letter
Yeah,
first
I
because
was about to. I just wanted you to finish real quick before.
I read the
Uh,
letter, so my point is gonna go with the letter that I
Oh,
read.
okay, okay, yeah, excellent, excellent. That's excellent segue because I was just waiting for you to kind of finish up because what you say and how you say it is very magnetic. So I know myself and others probably are gravitating towards every word that comes out of your mouth because I think you hit some very very critical points. So let's talk about a letter that came to Love Always. It says, "Dear Love. How do I know what love is when I've grown up and in a dysfunctional family of abuse? Sincerely confused." How do you answer the question?
Okay, so because all of this is gonna be on my webinars and different things. So I
Okay.
had, like I said, being alone is what I needed to do, and I'm in the convenient space of being able to not having to associate with everybody because I I'm self-employed kind of thing.
I like that.
But the other thing is, like, because I want to create an event where like people can come and just have those days of what you say, detoxing the mind. And
Right.
one of the things that I did was, like, first I had to define different things, like what is my opinion? Can you see it? Opinion is not truth. At least it's not always true because it's not necessarily based on facts. It could be your assumptions. It can come off of you from your experiences or judgments and things. And then you have your feelings. Your feelings aren't always true. They're your emotions, and you have to understand that you can be you have to be in control of your emotions. Your emotions are like a gauge, like, you know, like in your car, you have that gas light and it might E or whatever, you see it's going over towards the E. So your
Right.
emotions are like that. And you have to know how to utilize those emotions. Like say for instance, sad. Sad is can be negative or it can be positive. You can
That's
either
great.
go to the sadness where it becomes agony, misery, or you're just, you know, just staying there in it. Or you can acknowledge your sadness and be accountable for whatever it is that made you sad. Or what is it? Disappointment, or just go through your grief period. And in which one of my guests that's going to be on in April, she's going to talk about how to properly grieve because she's gone through that herself with being a widow and a single mother. And
Wow.
so then beliefs. As much as we would like to think that our belief is truth, our belief is not always true because, you know, like Christians might say that another religion's belief is not the truth, or somebody else might say this other religion is not, you know, the truth or whatever. But our beliefs is just pretty much our like could be your religion, it could be your moral compass or your standards and whatever. But a belief is something that you have accepted as being true, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the truth.
Yeah, this is where I want to say, shut your mouth and keep on talking.
You can teach that.
You know?
Then we have our thoughts. Our thoughts are expressed through our creative side. So your thoughts are going to be your ideas, your creativity, but it's a collection of like your beliefs, your opinions, and your feelings. They're all like pretty much compiled. So thinking is an activity. Like
It
you
is.
are what you think, or you are what you believe, or you know all these situations. So if you terrified of hell, or that you're going to hell, then you probably are because you keep on thinking, you know, so hard about that. And so now that we understand that all of these things are not always necessarily the truth, then what is truth? And truth, as we know, if you look up the definition, it is it's based on something being true or in accordance with it being a fact or reality. So if it doesn't have fact or reality behind it or whatever, because like your emotions or different things, it's gonna be like we said, based off your experience, but it doesn't, you know, somebody else might have a different experience and you could be prejudging a situation. And but one thing that we do know lies are based off of confusion. Lies are based off they bring discord and fear and shame. So if you're having any of those things, then you need to check what your truth is. So if you fearful about something, you shameful about something or whatever, then you need to check your truth. Like another thing that I like to say about truth is one thing that would affect me in moving forward in relationships is that word forgiveness. I always thought when they say you got to forgive and let it go, or forgive and move on, and all this other stuff, or if you can't be around them and do this and that and the other with them, then you haven't forgiven them. No, that is a false truth because
Mm.
forgiveness is acceptance. You're accepting the situation because you can't change it, or you're accepting the person because you can't change them. However, acceptance is not approval or disapproval. You still have the right to approve of the situation or disapprove of the situation. If I want to be around a pedophile or whatever, then I accept I know they're a pedophile and I can't change them. And then I chose to be there or whatever. But if I disapprove, then I'm going to make those changes or whatever. That's like me sitting here saying, I hate the color of this wall. So I accept that that color is what it is. But if I approve of it and I don't feel like changing it, it's going to stay the same. But if I
Right.
disapprove it, then I'm going to go to the store and buy some paint and change it or whatever. So that's
Right.
what forgiveness is accepting it. But now you still got to make a conscious choice on what you're going to do and whatnot.
That's a great, actually active definition of truth right there, of being able to, forgiveness as you were. It's very, very active. I think people can use what you just said and make some changes in their lives. That's very adaptable. So, hey, give us some recaps. Give us some key points. What will you leave our audience with today, as your personal key points, and what homework would you give them if you're like the teacher standing in the classroom? You would say, what homeworks would you do them for them to, you know, experience better, have better experiences?
Well, what I think people need to at least work on is living your truth, defining, like learning to separate what are your feelings, what are your thoughts, what are your opinions, what are your beliefs. Put them all in different categories when you're going throughout the week or having conversations or ready to judge a situation or have your feelings about something. Whatever. Separate them down and then pull out just what is the facts about it. And once you have what your facts are and you separated all of these other things, then you can find out what your truth is.
Okay. So, uh, tell us where we can find you online.
Well, my website is www.lovealways.today. And yes, there's no .com, it's .today. And of course, right here on Facebook.com/lovealways.forgiving. So I'm going to be a love always somewhere on anywhere in the social media. And you can find me on all social media and email me at lovealways. Well, the S is going to be a 5 instead of S. So lovealways5 at yahoo.com.
Well, I definitely appreciate you having me today as your as the one actually asking you some of these critical questions, because it doesn't matter whether I'm the guest or I'm the one asking the questions. I get to learn a lot from you, but not only from you, but from all the other guests that show up and spend this moment with us as well. So I want to thank everybody for showing up and being a part of this, and I want to let you know that you are appreciated. And evidently, if you here, you must be a love addict like the rest of us. Love always. I leave the final comments to you.
And tune in next week where our guest is going to be talking about the anatomy of truth. And she's a yoga instructor right here in Seattle. And it's going to be awesome. So until next week, we want you to stay tuned and always remember to be a promotion and not the emotion. And in my case, be a promotion of forgiveness and not the emotion of a traumatic past.